Top 10 takeaways from day one NFL draft with day one MVP, Bradley Stalder, here with me today. Typically, we say, oh, the MVP was Cody because Cody carries us. Yesterday, we had some technical difficulties. Threw it to the fantasy desk, and it was Bradley more than anyone else that really stepped up yesterday. You did a great job.
Thanks, Matt. Billy Muzio also helping out at the projections desk. It was great to have me and Billy at this desk. It was the first time we were recording together in person since fall of 2021. So the boys were back in town, and Matt, it's great to be here at the Player Profiler house.
This is your first, well, you were here last year because we recorded in Michigan. You were local.
But Billy wasn't here.
That's right. You were in and out. You were in and out because you had a lot of family responsibilities. So it's been good to have you down here full time, man. And we have some major fantasy takeaways. The projection desk last night was rocking. If you're listening to this on the podcast, we stream every pick live on Player Profiler's Facebook page, on YouTube, on the @Roto Underworld, on Twitter X. Check it out. But there's a lot to talk about here. What's takeaway number one for you? We do top 10 takeaways. Tell you what we'll do. Bradley and I will each give you 10. So you'll get 20 this time. So 2 for the price of 1 takeaways today only on Player Profiler. So you kick us off with your top takeaway.
Top takeaway is Travis Hunter is going to feed families for fantasy, not only for himself, but also Trevor Lawrence. This is a major move by the Jaguars that they move up, get the number 2 pick, get Travis Hunter. He is going to play alongside Brian Thomas, both guys 20+% target share guys. And, you know, we were talking pre-show, Travis Hunter made Shedeur Sanders at Colorado. He is going to make Trevor Lawrence into this massive fantasy goodness player alongside, Brian Thomas. So this was a major win for the Jaguars moving up, and the Browns still brown. The bad teams stay bad, Matt.
You love the target consolidation. No Evan Ingram, no Christian Kirk. Gabe Davis, we barely knew you. Who cares? It's just going to be these 2 guys soaking up all the targets, just like we saw last year with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, both being incredibly important for fantasy. T. Higgins, especially down the stretch. I can see this happening, something similar where the Jaguars' defense stays bad, but the offense gets better. Trevor Lawrence is a buy, even if you don't believe in Trevor Lawrence, the talent, you think he's fraudulent. If he has an upgraded offensive line and one of the best wide receiver duos in the league, then he is a buy, regardless of whether or not you're totally sold on him being a franchise level quarterback. But yeah, I mean, I'm out of reasons to hate Trevor Lawrence. I'm now in on Trevor Lawrence, and it'll be interesting to see his ADP bump in on Underdog and all the big traditional FFPC, especially FFPC. Our partners over there have best ball contests happening consistently. So check out those best ball contests at the FFPC and see it. Interesting to see the Trevor Lawrence ADP shift. Now, my takeaway to kick us off is that the NFL is really discounting athleticism. The days of Darius Hayward-Bay going top 10 are long gone. But then every year we're like, oh, they've finally figured it out. They finally learned their lesson. And then John Ross gets drafted. And then, they finally learned their lesson. And then another, speed-based pick. And you could go to Javon Walker not long ago by the Jaguars. That was an athleticism-based pick. And then you saw, what's going on here? The other Sanders, the Sanders that actually got drafted, the edge rusher from Texas A&M, he was supposed to go top 10 based on just athleticism. But no, he falls into the teens. It's like, wow, that guy's the guy with he was top 5 all time at the position in athleticism score on Player Profiler, falls outside the top 10. Matthew Golden breaks the combine 40 again, right? The Texas guys just, trying to one up each other with the 40 time, and all the hype around Golden. He's going before Tet. That was a lot of the mocks had him going before Tet. My mock had him going. I was listening to all the other guys, and I got caught a little bit. with the Tet versus Golden, trying to put myself in the shoes of an NFL GM that doesn't focus on the right details. But so many of these front offices have such analytics-based support around them now. They're just not making these athleticism-based mistakes like they did. So I guess those would be the examples where you have Sanders falling outside the top 10. You had the Cowboys drafting Booker, even though he's not an athlete, but he's just great at football and great at his position. And that's what matters. And was a position of need. Like the Cowboys going with an unathletic player, which was the exact player they should draft, to me, it's going to take a few more years for me to get used to this, them doing well in the draft. And then Golden falling outside the top 20. That was just a real signal that, okay, the NFL has fully digested how much athleticism matters at these various positions. I mean, Egbuka went before Golden, and typically, year in, year out, you just had never seen that. Remember Henry Ruggs went before CeeDee Lamb? Like those days are gone.
Jalen Reagor before CeeDee Lamb.
Days are gone. Those days are gone. So that's cool.
Oh. The NFL is getting better at these player evaluations. I would agree with you. There were fewer head scratcher picks in this draft. There are still a couple of them that bad teams stay bad. They're going to continue to make bad picks, but I agree with you. The NFL is getting better at these player evaluations. You get the Kenneth Grant, Miami Dolphins, a defensive tackle, middle, like it fills the need. It's also a quality player. Kelvin Banks, a lot of analysts were mocking quarterback to the Saints. But the Saints said, nope, we're going to get offensive line help. We're going to build our team the right way. We are starting to see more of a shift toward better football team building. How about that?
Yeah. What do you think was the worst move? Was it Atlanta trading next year's first rounder?
Oh, that was really bad.
Because that's my next takeaway. My next takeaway is that really was straight. We had just watched the movie Draft Day, and I was like, "This is straight out of Draft Day, man."
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, well, I'm going to need next year's first," and then I was like, "Oh, hey, but you got to do it, man." You go, "I was like, oh, okay." What? No. What do you want?
Well, and the range of outcomes of that pick for the Atlanta Falcons is the Falcons could still stay bad, and then that's a good pick for the Rams. And now the Rams will have 2 first-round picks next year with Matthew Stafford on 1 more year. So they have the ammo now to go up and get a quarterback in next year's draft if they need it. This was a great move by the Rams. Terrible for the Falcons.
They're just like, we saw the Eagles win with multiple pass rushers. We need multiple pass rushers, and we're not going to patiently develop anybody. No. We're not going to go sign anyone in free agency. We're going to draft them all this year in the first round. Okay.
Yikes. That was maybe a top 2 worst pick. I know we'll get into Loveland. Do you want to jump into Loveland here?
Yeah, that's your next go. Yeah, I think that we're flying, man. We're flying with these takeaways.
This was probably the worst offensive pick in the draft is Colson Loveland. Not only because you already have a really good tight end, like Cole Kmet is your NFL's football tight end, Notre Dame product, has been producing there in Chicago for years. He had the draft capital, the athleticism.
Well, you don't need to upgrade. The bottom line is you have a 2-way tight end. You have a tight end with size, who's a good blocker, who's also athletic, and can help in the passing game. You're good there. So you could take a complementary piece. What you would do if you already had Cole Kmet on the roster, what you would do as a general manager is to say, I'm going to take a shot on an athletic sleeper.
Right.
Like that's the move. If you wanted to go smaller, super athletic tight end, there's guys like that available in round 3, 4, 5 of every draft.
You trade down, and reportedly Rappaport said that teams were calling the Bears, wanting to move up to that pick, and Loveland was the pick. I think trading that pick would have been the right move, moving down, getting more equity, especially if the Falcons are trading a first for next year for the 25th or whatever it was pick overall. Yeah, that's a mistake. If you can get more draft equity, the Bears are still a couple pieces away. They revamped the offensive line. They have a really good defense. They have DJ Moore, they have Roma Dunze, they have the pieces. So move down, get some more equity, and also you can address the running back position if you need. Tight end, and this also hurts Loveland's dynasty perspective. This is really hurtful for the dynasty perspective. Yes, Caleb Williams is going to be there a while. Roma Dunze is going to be there for a while, but Cole Kmet is still 27. Yeah, this was a mistake by Ryan Poles. I'm still not convinced that Ryan Poles is that good of a general manager.
Well, no, he's looking worse and worse.
Yes.
This is a very bad move.
Yes.
You had a lot of other needs. There's ways that you can help a young quarterback. Move tight end you're just picking away at the margins with the move tight end. I think what happened was this was very much one of those fantasy football scenarios where your league mates are trying to get a player. You have multiple league mates trying to trade for a player that you don't necessarily like, and it's known that you don't like them. And then all of a sudden, by them wanting that player so much, you then decide you want that player.
Yes.
That
makes sense.
This is what happened. He's like, what am I missing? I'm just going to take him. I got to have him. They want him so bad. That means I need to have him. No,
the Bears are going to bear.
It's okay to let the league salivate over a particular type of player, especially one that is not a proper two-way tight end.
Right.
Those guys have limited upside. Even like a guy like Jordan Reed at his best. Right. At his best, he was helping more as a receiver, and he wasn't that sort of versatile super weapon at tight end that a guy like Rob Gronkowski is, or whatever it is. And this idea that, his ceiling is Brock Bowers. No, it's not.
No.
Brock Bowers was one of one. And this is what they're doing. The NFL does make this mistake every year where they chase last year's thing. And so while there's, again, front offices are leaps and bounds better, but there's still scenarios where they will chase last year's thing. And I think that's what happened here. There was just this zeal around finding this year's Bowers. The league decided it was Loveland, and Poles couldn't let it go.
Our player profiler comp on the site, playerprofiler.com, Trey McBride. And it took years for Trey McBride to break out. It's going to take years for Colston Loveland to break out.
He's not a guy that you're going to be drafting in seasonal leagues, but because there's not much room for him to earn targets, the opportunity is very limited with two top 20 talents at wide receiver, plus like an established Cole Kmet, and then they're going to draft a running back today, most likely, and that running back. If it's Quinshon Judkins, you're hoping for that. If you have Loveland in Dynasty, if they go with more of a pass catching option, that's not as good. But I mean, whether it's Caleb Johnson, I guess it potentially Trevion falls to Chicago. That's even worse for Loveland's fantasy value. But regardless, in Dynasty, if I feel like I have to sit on a guy for a year or two, you're better off just drafting somebody else.
Yeah, Colston Loveland, undraftable in redraft for 2025.
Yeah, there's a couple skill position players that I came away from the first round thinking, all right, this guy's undraftable. Just don't want him in any format. Not sorry, right? And the other thing, another takeaway is that the NFL has also made a leap in the understanding of positional value, where you'll notice they did draft a bare minimum wide receivers. They didn't draft the third, fourth running back.
Right.
They didn't draft Shedeur Sanders.
No.
Like, that's the question. Where's Shedeur Sanders? So they're not falling for the banana in the tailpipe where you have a weaker position, and yet because typically this many of each particular type of position go, well, we've got to draft this guy anyway because he's the third rated tight end. Right. And then Mason Taylor goes in the first round. He shouldn't have gone. So you had a bunch of these skill position players that had no business going in the first round. And in another draft class, they would have been clear second rounders. The NFL said, we get it, guys. Like, we're getting it. And they're drafting the defensive linemen. They're moving the defensive linemen. It was a strong defensive line class. So that's where the focus was. It was a strong edge rusher class. So that's where the focus was. So I was pretty I was pretty satisfied with the efficiency of a lot of these picks where it's like, okay, Malachi Starks, I didn't have him in my mock. I didn't trust the NFL to value him as a first rounder, but I'm wrong. Donovan Jackson, same thing. Minnesota Vikings, like a versatile lineman that typically that guy goes second round. And why doesn't he go first round? Oh, because there's a quarterback and another receiver that's going, and we got to make room for all these guys. And the Donovan Jacksons ultimately end up early second round. Nah. These guys were all first rounders, as they should be.
Yes.
And even a guy like Zabel,
yes,
right? Zabel or Zabel?
Zabel.
It is Zabel. Zabel is a North Dakota guard, and he goes 17-18 to Seattle. And the beauty is the guy I talked about earlier, Shamar Stewart. So Shamar Stewart, he goes at 17 to the Bengals. That's where he should go.
And the Bengals need.
That's what they need.
Too.
It was perfect. Yeah, that's the upside athleticism edge play. And that's the perfect pick at 17. It's a terrible pick at 7.
Yes.
Right. But the fact that those two guys were adjacent, back to back, Stewart, Zabel, that tells me right there, oh my, they're getting it.
Yes.
Like the guy that wasn't producing, but he's athletic, is about equivalent to the guy at the less valuable position who's higher rated. Bingo. They're a very similar draft grade. Bang, bang. They go off the board at the same point. So takeaway is NFL, a better understanding of positional value than they've ever had.
Love it. Another takeaway is the Tyler Warren pick fills the need of tight end that the Indianapolis Colts have so long desired. They've had five-headed monster, Kylan Granson, Mo Alley Cox, you name Will Mallory,
Sure.
You name it. But this majorly hurts Josh Downs. And I know that I've been a Josh Downs guy. I know you have some Josh Downs love. The reality is that Ty Warren is going to get targets in this offense, and he's going to be a quarterback's best friend. Alec Pierce, not going to be the quarterback's best friend, whether it's Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. Ty Warren was selected top 14, and he's going to operate mostly out of the slot. The athleticism pick here, Ty Warren, it makes NFL sense. I don't know if it helps us for fantasy. I think it hurts for fantasy.
It hurts everybody. Yeah, it's the law of the conservation of targets. It hurts Adonai Mitchell. It hurts Michael Pittman. I think it hurts Michael Pittman most of all. I think that I understand the logic that this is a guy that's more inside the 20s.
Well, right? Pittman was already hurting.
Right. He's close to the line of scrimmage. Yeah. These targets, there's only so many of them. Mm-hmm. So some of them have to go to Tyler Warren. Others are going to go to Josh Downs. It makes sense. Josh Downs has to get targets siphoned away from him. But Josh Downs is the best receiver on this team.
He is.
And the second best receiver might be Adonai Mitchell. And Adonai Mitchell is going to play the outside field stretcher role. He's going to take over for Alec Pierce this year and in the long run. I think that that's not a big target earning position. So I don't think a lot of those targets are going to get siphoned away. And that's understandable. Where does Michael Pittman fit into this? So I think once this all shakes out, and all the targets have to be earned by people getting open and getting separation, squeezing the football. I think that the player that's the least impressive of all the guys I just talked about is Michael Pittman. And injuries or not, he just hasn't delivered at the level that his size and athletic profile was suggesting coming out. He had a good Senior Bowl. I get it. He's been productive, year over year. I know there's been injuries.
The back injury in particular this offseason.
And a back injury has long-term consequences. So, yes, Josh Downs suffers. There's no doubt. He's coming down in the rankings. He's coming down in the projections. But equally, Michael Pittman.
It's a tough look because Pittman was already getting eaten into last year when he was healthy and Josh Downs was healthy.
I think that if there was a player that I would want zero exposure to in best ball, absolute zero, like less than zero, it would be Michael Pittman.
I don't hate it.
I think that I believe Anthony Richardson can't start more than say 6 games, given that he doesn't have the ability to complete passes in the NFL at any kind of reasonable rate. because of that, I'm giving him 6-7 games, maybe.
It means 10 games of Daniel Jones.
We're talking at least 10 games of Daniel Jones. That is going to help to offset this problem for Josh Downs, because Daniel Jones, what does he do? Feeds Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yes.
And Josh Downs is a better version of Wan'Dale Robinson. So I like that. And so I'm not as worried about that. But I think that when you have Daniel Jones and you have another weapon available to Daniel Jones, that it's very bad for Michael Pittman, and he's a sell low.
Sell low on Michael Pittman.
Yeah. So we got to talk about Hampton.
We do have to
my
talk about
takeaway is that I love Hampton for Dynasty. This is the perfect place to go. You have an all-purpose back, checks all the boxes, massive producer, touchdowns, can catch the football, bumped up his catches last year, which was one of the more encouraging stats in all of college football, was Omarion Hampton catching more than 30 passes. Going to a team that has invested more capital in the offensive line than any other team. I mean, they have just an embarrassment of riches at the tackle position. They can move tackles to guard. I mean, it's such a great place to be, right? When you can take a guy like Mekhi Becton as a Super Bowl team and move him to guard, it's just a great position. And that's the kind of situation, the foundation along the foundational offensive line pieces that they've brought in Los Angeles. That's why. So you have Herbert matriculating the ball down the field, ensuring that they sustain drives, both with his, throwing to the outside, first downs, but also the tactical scrambling. So Herbert's huge, obviously, super helpful for Hampton to have a Herbert level quarterback, and then to have that offensive line, and then to not have any other receivers of consequence outside Ladd McConkey. That's the other thing that helps Hampton, is that by using their pick on Hampton, the Chargers couldn't use it on a receiver.
Right.
It's so perfect. Longer term, it's so perfect. However, this year, less interested, because this year, there's going to be constant frustration, constant touchdown vulturing, and complaining on social media about Najee Harris. You can see it from hundreds of miles away. You can see this coming. So this is the one scenario where I normally, if I'm fading a guy in seasonal leagues best ball, I don't want him in Dynasty either. This is the one exception where Hampton, I know that he's going to be startable in a lot of games. Harris has never missed a game in the NFL that I can even remember, if he has at all. So it's just that Harris is going to get 10 to 15 touches, and that Hampton is going to be regarded as a young rookie, and that he's going to come in and they're going to have the veteran already there. He's going to be waiting for him. He's going to be like, hey, buddy. And Harbaugh's going to tell him how happy he is to have him. And then he's going to be like, I hope you're okay not being the main guy for a year. That's what's going to happen. Fantasy gamer's going to have to deal with it. But he'll be productive enough that I'm happy to draft him in Dynasty at the 102. Right now that he's a first rounder and Travion Henderson is not a first rounder, and he goes to the Chargers, the nuts long-term landing spot. That means Hampton in single quarterback Dynasty leagues is the clear locked in 102 in rookie drafts. So
yeah,
great.
This is we talk about Harbaugh getting his guy. Harbaugh loves to run the snot out of the ball. That is what he did when he was with the 49ers as their head coach. That's what he did when he was the head coach at U of M. And now you get your lightning to the thunder. Najee Harris, the Thunder, Omarion Hampton, the Lightning, catching the passes out of the backfield. You mentioned the pass catching for Omarion Hampton. Harris was not as much of a pass catcher for the Steelers until Jaylen Warren was injured last year. It was out of necessity. So we look at Hampton being, a spellback, but also getting third down work. This is like a Jahmyr Gibbs light rookie season.
Oh, yeah.
You could see him finishing as a top 10, top 15 running back, but it could be very frustrating.
No, he's a best ball guy.
Yeah.
Like if there's one format that I'm not loving him, it's like FFPC, main event championship type, where you're trying to figure out when, managed leagues, not as exciting.
Dynasty and best ball.
But best ball, man.
Oh,
This is the perfect best ball back because he's getting the high value touches. You just don't know what the game script's going to look like in these games. And the Chargers are going to have plenty of these games where they're crushing opponents. You know, it's not going to be great for Hampton. But that's the beauty of best balls. It doesn't have to matter. And all those shootouts that the Chargers end up in, those are going to be Hampton games. It'll be fun.
but a running back we are very excited about. Nuts landing spot, Ashton Jeanty. We need to talk about Ashton Jeanty landing on the Vegas Raiders. Pete Carroll gets his guy. This is the best situation that we could have asked for. No more Zamir White. No more Sincere McCormick. This is Ashton Jeanty. He's going to get 250 plus carries easy. You're going to get work out of the backfield, catching the ball. Geno Smith is a competent quarterback. Competent quarterback plus dynamic running back equals massive fantasy points. And there's Jakobi Meyers and Brock Bowers there. Ashton Jeanty, this is great for all pieces involved. Bump up your Geno Smith, bump up your Brock Bowers touchdown equity, bump up Jakobi Meyers. These drives are going to be sustained because Jeanty is on the field and Geno Smith is there. This is another step in Pete Carroll building the team that he wants to build, and getting Jeanty is a very nice piece. It makes them competitive in this division.
Right. RB1 is in his range of outcomes. He could be better than Barkley. He could be better than everybody. I think RB4.
We
that's
have him
the
at
range.
RB4 right now.
Yeah, RB4. I mean, his ceiling's RB1, his floor is RB6. We put him at RB4. He's going to absolutely crush. There's no competition for touches there. Dylan Lobby, Sincere McCormick. What are we talking about here?
Raheem Mostert. I mean, he's 30-something years old.
Mostert becomes an interesting handcuff.
Sure.
He's actually an interesting guy in super deep leagues just to stash because they're not going to. That means by drafting Jeanty, they're not going to draft another running back, which helps protect Mostert.
Yes,
from the situation where the Raiders might have drafted two running backs otherwise. So that's cool. And there's no touchdown scoring receivers on this team. It's just Bowers and Jeanty. These are the touchdown options. When they're drawing up plays, there's two guys. That's it. Because Jakobi Meyers is a proper possession receiver. So
he's Tyler Lockett.
He's not Tyler Lockett. That's not what he is at all. He's not an outside field stretching guy. He's not a 4-4 guy. He's a guy that runs 9 yards and tries to get that extra yard for a first down. That's what he is. And if you're Jeanty, you love that. It's interesting though, that because they don't have anyone really on the outside, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who do they have?
That's it. It's Myers and it's Trey Tucker.
Tucker.
The other two wide receivers.
Where did Scantling go?
He went to Seattle.
Yes. Okay. I knew there was Scantling went to a team that only had slot receivers. I knew that. It was one of the two. So there's nothing on the outside. That's if you had to pick one area where this could be a little concerning, is that all of the targets are going to be close to the line of scrimmage, and Bowers. But I mean,
we can look at Geno Smith's 73% completion percentage.
Yeah, the fact that it's Geno Smith is actually better. Geno Smith, that's where he wants to keep the football. Yeah. It's the alignment is so perfect, and we got lucky because all the mocks, including ours, and the consensus had basically said
there's really
Jeanty's
no pathway
going to Jacksonville.
There's really no pathway for any other rookie player to out landing spot Ashton Jeanty. He's clearly the 101.
Clearly, yes. I'm just saying, if before the draft. Jacksonville was the spot.
Yes. It would have moved Etienne out. It would have moved Bigsby out.
All the best mockers, they were putting him
at 5
to Jacksonville. That would not have been nearly as good.
No.
That would not have been. This is so
this
perfect.
Is the elevation.
With Geno Smith, the checkdowns, it's just, oh my God. So I have a take on Matthew Golden. I talked about him earlier. I have a take on Egbuka. Who do you have a take on coming up?
Let's see. We've got Jaxson Dart.
Oh, I'm going to get Jaxson Dart take.
Yeah.
So let's take a moment. Let's talk about the Dynasty Dominator app. If we're talking about values when you're in trade, what are these picks worth in trade? because Dynasty rookie drafts are happening momentarily, you need the Dynasty Dominator app. It's in the App Store. It's just $5, and you can quickly pull up, hey, what is the 101 worth? What is the 201 worth in Superflex? And you can use the trade calculator. You can use the player valuation tool, the player comparison tools, and you can hear more about it right now.
Hey, what if I told you there was a Dynasty app where you could get player lifetime values, evaluate trades, including draft picks out to 2028, compare the advanced metrics of two players, look up the sentiment, buy, sell, hold on players? Well, there is a mobile app that has all of that and more called the Dynasty Dominator, and it's $5 in the App Store on Google Play. This is my gift to you, the most affordable Dynasty League domination app available today. And if you already have it, the 2025 class is ready to download. Let's go.
My next takeaway, Matthew Golden was a good pick. Again, that's where he should go, right? We talked about Shamar Stewart. That's where he should go. Athletic edge rusher, should go at 17. A guy like Matthew Golden, athletic, not so productive, but could be the wide receiver one from this class if things break his way. He should go at 23. That's where guys like him should go. And the Packers, they don't have a wide receiver one. I would like it to be Jayden Reed, but they don't play Jayden Reed full time.
Jayden Reed was the popular pick last year. He was getting steamed up round 5 fantasy drafts last year, Matt.
We're 2 years in, and he's not getting full-time snaps.
Nope.
And Romeo Doubs is a dud.
And there was an opportunity last year with Musgrave out, and he still didn't get it.
No. Christian Watson's not going to happen. So stop trying to make Christian Watson a thing.
Ugh.
Stop trying to make Dontavian Wicks a thing. The coaches juked out the analysts at the combine, talking up Dontavian Wicks, knowing they were going to draft Matthew Golden all along. I do believe that the fact that the draft was in Green Bay, that it did affect the decision makers slightly. I don't think it wasn't the majority decision driver by any means, but I think it affected them slightly. If they were at 51-49 between two guys, you're going to go with the wide receiver named Golden that all of your fans know when you're sitting there at like a Live Aid event and you can bring him out wearing like the coolest suit.
Walk up music
was just looked super chill, and walk up and announce him, have him throw up his jersey to the crowd, hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, Queen with Freddie Mercury was coming on next. I mean, it was a crazy scene, man. That was what I was like, man, it would be nice to be there, but I also like being in Tampa, the other bay. So I think that had some effect for sure. It would have been a little for them to go walk up there and say, with the next pick, it's Donovan Jackson. And we have to explain what his position is.
They would have gotten the booze.
They would have been like, it would have been a great pick. It would have been
the
an
Packers
awesome
fans
pick.
would have turned and eaten some cheese.
But that would have not have.
No.
Matthew Golden was the right pick on a lot of levels, and it just so happened to be the right player at the right draft slot, the right sort of upside play at wide receiver that you want to take a shot at 23 on a guy like Matthew Golden. And these Texas guys, man, I spent a lot of time with Cody, a lot of time with Alex, and they talk about how Golden arrived from Houston. He had to earn it. But as soon as they injected him into the lineup, all he did was make plays, and he just dominated. As soon as he became a full-time player, it wasn't until well into the season, and he just took it and ran with it, and he was like their best offensive player. So it's one of those things where I know he wasn't as productive as he could be. There's certainly rationalizations for that. He's very young, which we love. He has the first-round draft capital, which we love, and you should check out the Breakout Finder. We're going to be updating the breakout ratings very soon. I like this Matthew Golden. I'm going to be drafting him, and I'm going to be drafting in seasonal leagues in particular. I like him this year in best ball and this year in managed leagues. I think he's going to be a really nice value. I think the targets are going to finally consolidate in Green Bay with Jordan Love around Reed and Golden.
I think the upside certainly exists with Matthew Golden. We saw Christian Watson have massive spike weeks. He had bad games, he had good games, but now he's dealing with the ACL injury. I think that Matthew Golden he is going to be a better NFL player than Christian Watson. And if he stays healthier, then this is a more consistent impact player than Watson. Watson, as we remember, dealing with the ACL tear at the end of the season. So not only does this upgrade a wide receiver position, it also fills a big need that the Packers viewed as the field stretcher, as a guy who can win downfield, a yards after the catch guy, a speed guy, and he's better than Christian Watson in those ways. Yeah. The coaches love all of the wide receivers there, but they knew that they had a major gap with Watson expected to miss all of 2025. So that projection and progression of the ACL tear is definitely a move. And for Golden to be available there, it was also it was perfect storm, perfection for the Packers to get their first wide receiver in the first round since Javon Walker, Brett Favre era.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I love this. It's now on Dontavian Wicks. I love this situation because now it's like, okay,
pressure's on.
You have to outplay Romeo Doubs in camp.
Yes.
That's all you have to do, and you'll be the starter in 3 receiver sets. But that's it.
Right.
We want it to be Reed and Wicks. I mean, I'd like it to be Reed and Melton with Golden. And
Melton's not dead yet. Maybe.
Melton's going to have an opportunity, right? It's going to be Melton and Wicks are going to have that opportunity. One of those two, I can guarantee you this, one of those two is going to outplay Doubs in camp. And that'll be a very interesting 3 receiver sets lineup in Green Bay this year. So
love it. Play selection I did not love, Jaxson Dart at 23. The Giants had to make a move. Organizationally, they had to make a move, but for fantasy perspective, I don't love it because Jaxson Dart going to sit. He's going to sit for a while. It's within the range of outcomes. He doesn't even play a game in 2025 with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston ahead of him. They may want to say, okay, the Jaxson Dart, the drumbeat first round pick, but he was outside the top 20 of draft capital. There's not going to be as strong of a drumbeat for him to get started. This is a long-term play. And is there an elevation for Malik Neighbors? I don't think so. There's a lot of
this is a nothing burger.
Yeah,
nothing happened.
Nothing exactly.
It's like nothing happened. It was sort of a waste of everything. So I don't have much for fantasy here.
Yeah,
I'm not that interested in him in Superflex even
or even Dynasty.
That's what I'm saying. Dynasty Superflex leagues. I'm thinking of him in Dynasty Superflex leagues. If he falls to me in
round 3?
No, the second round. The early second round in Superflex. No. Oh, no, he's going to go. Oh, yeah, he will. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he will. Oh, yeah, he will. No, he's a first-round quarterback. There are going to be people that are drafting him at the end of the first round in Superflex in 2 QB
which is
leagues.
Going to be a mistake.
I wouldn't do that. But again, if he falls to me in the second round, then in the big 5 running backs are off the board.
Yeah,
I might. It's such a bad situation.
Yeah.
I don't want much. I'm hoping someone will take that problem off my hands and not have to make that choice. I think it was interesting how the dynamics played out where you trade back into the first round. Most of these general managers are now aware that is a sucker move.
Yep. Bad teams stay bad because they have to draft the quarterback out of necessity. And then these good teams who are in the back half of the first round for a reason, they went to the playoffs. Their team is already set. They're getting richer. They're getting more draft equity. And these this is why bad teams stay bad, Matt. They make moves like drafting Jaxson Dart.
Right. And I think that was a Mara pick. So if I had to think about the politics of that pick, Mara's thinking, we need a quarterback, and Schoen's like, we have a process. We got to follow our process. And Mara's like, we need a quarterback. And then he's like, we have a process. And then Mara goes, the same process that let go of Barkley and broke my heart on camera. That one where
Yikes.
I was, a coin flip away from firing you. That one, we need a quarterback. What's your answer? Okay, sir. We'll trade up and get a quarterback. I think that was a Mara family pick. That's what happened. I think Schoen did that begrudgingly. I don't think Schoen's a good front office, character at all. I wouldn't hire him as a GM.
No.
But you have to think that he knew not to do that. And they did it anyway, which is just
his kid is reposting Jaxson Dart highlight videos on Instagram.
Yeah, I think this is equity holder meddling at its finest is my suspicion there. Another takeaway I had: Egbuka, not draftable. Like I think that it was interesting that the NFL drafted Egbuka before Golden. I actually think that you could almost argue that they've jumped the shark in their discounting of wide receiver athleticism at this point, where Golden's just got more upside than Egbuka. And Egbuka, because he's not going to produce in year one in Tampa, I just don't see why you would draft him in any format.
It's tough. It's tough. Look, because you look at Godwin, who is making progress from his ACL or from his late season injury. He was also signed to an extension. He's 29. He's still got a couple years of prime production left. Mike Evans has one more year under contract, and then the Bucs have an out. You had Jalen McMillan, who had good games last year. So Egbuka's moving to a position where he's got major competition. Yes, he played very well with major competition at Ohio State. You have Olave and Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jeremiah Smith that he's played alongside and played well with. But it's difficult to see a pathway for Egbuka to give you consistent high-end or even low-end wide receiver 2 production. It's a tough spot. You need major efficiency, and at least the Buccaneers have proven time and again over the last couple of years with Baker Mayfield that they're willing to get into shootouts. They're willing to do that.
Oh, it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of points scored.
There's going to be lots of points scored.
Don't worry about that. It's great for Baker. Baker's smiling ear to ear. Baker can't believe his luck.
Can't believe this was great for Baker Mayfield.
What a life.
Yes.
Live if you're Baker Mayfield. Everything's just working out. It's so cool. So you love to see that for Baker. Jalen McMillan, it's just, I've talked about this many times, and I've argued with many people about this. Many analysts that I've gone on their show. They've come on this show, and I'll talk about process, and I'll talk about some just rules of thumb for Dynasty, where if you follow them, it's just a very easy cheat sheet. And when those that want to spend hours in the film room don't really have much patience for the simple, easy, quick cheat sheet. But one of those cheat sheet, and again, this is something I fought back against Nate List. Nate List would talk about these kinds of cheat sheet moves, and I would fight back, and I say, I'd like to try to steel man the case against it. And at the end of the day, it was very hard to steel man a case against. If you hit on any late round receiver, flip them. Right? Flip them. I understand they could end up being Stephon Diggs, but
Puka Nacua.
In most cases, it's not going to be Nacua. It's not going to be Diggs. If you follow this method year over year over year, and you look at all the assets
so high
that you can compile doing this hit and flip, you're gonna end up coming out way ahead if just your instinctual reaction is, I accrued value on a receiver in year one in Dynasty who wasn't a top pick and doesn't look like a proper NFL number one target earner. I'm gonna flip him. That's it. Just do it. So those that just followed the process with a McMillan and flipped him before the draft, and those people are loving life right now. It was a good process pick by Tampa also.
Yes.
Their receiving core is aging, and all they have is McMillan once Evans and Godwin are gone. So this makes sense that you would get another great receiver in the pipeline, because receiver is an expensive position. It's an expensive position to source outside the draft. So that to me made a lot of sense. You want to talk about Tet McMillan?
We can talk about Tet McMillan.
Do you have anyone else to talk about? Because I want to close out with Tet McMillan.
Sure.
So if you have anyone else to talk about, let's talk about them first, because I want to close this with Tet.
Big winner, quiet winner, Jeudy of the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
Big winner. The Browns could have gone Travis Hunter at 2.
Oh yeah.
They could have gone that way. Jeudy last year, 25% target share on the Browns. He shifted from being a slot receiver on the Broncos to winning on the outside. And it didn't matter if it was Dorian Thompson-Robinson or Jameis Winston. He was crushing last year. He finished as wide receiver 13, 15, somewhere in that range. And now it doesn't matter who the quarterback's going to be. He's going to continue to crush. It's Jeudy, big winner. And yes, the Browns may bring in a day 2 wide receiver. There's still space for that to happen. But when it comes to who's going to be the guy, this is cementing Jeudy as the wide receiver 1 on the Browns.
So who are the Browns going to pick at the top of the second round?
Well, they need a lot. They need quarterback. They need running back. They need wide receiver. Because
I think I would love to see them draft Jalen Noel. I think Jalen Noel would be fun. Or I think for their team, I think Jalen Noel's good because they already have Cedric Tillman
right
to play that Higgins role. And I think Tillman's also a big winner too.
Yes.
But I think Noel would be super exciting to see him get that kind of draft capital after the suspicions where, he might fall into the 3rd round. And then to see how far Sanders falls.
Yes.
This whole thing. And then and no running backs go until Chicago. And then Chicago might go with Judkins. And then after that, what if they get Judkins? And
this is going to be a fun day today.
But then, you think about, after Judkins, then what happens? Okay, where does Caleb Johnson end up?
Johnson,
it's going to be very fun. So I want to close it out with my thoughts on Tet.
Sure.
Famously, I left Tet off the mock for reasons that turned out to be incorrect. I don't think that Todd McShay has a great prospect evaluation process, but I do know that people like Todd McShay talk to a lot of NFL evaluators, and for him to put Tet McMillan at 50
overall.
Yeah, and and you see these mocks start coming out where Tet McMillan is getting left out of the 1st round. I had a bad feeling, and I was wrong, right? I was wrong to even have that feeling because I have him as the clear top receiver in this class. Now, with Hunter, Hunter's going to be a full-time receiver.
Yes.
So now that Hunter's a full-time receiver, we can have that conversation.
Yes.
But I love Tet McMillan. I like a big-bodied, explosive receiver that can play all the positions, a super versatile X receiver. I actually think that he is more versatile than Drake London. I think Drake London really is a big slot receiver. I think Tet McMillan is better on the outside than Drake London, but also can move inside at will. It's hard to even find a good comp for him. I don't agree with it for that reason. I don't agree necessarily with the Drake London comp. I think we'd have to go back in time. I'm gonna continue to ponder this. I think it's almost like if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were one guy. Like if you did, I'd have to try to fall back to a Franken comp where what if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were one guy? You can go back to a guy like Marquez Colston. There's a bunch of guys that I love. Tetairoa McMillan, and I'm so happy that he didn't fall out of the 1st round or fall out of the top 20 because of concerns about his effort level on throws over the middle. I
coming out a day before the draft,
I don't make the mistake I did. If you ever enter a mock draft contest, don't make that mistake. That I thought that, okay, NFL teams, they're going to fall for this. They're going to think that he's a low effort guy. He's going to be in free fall. McShay knows something. You can see this happens. The level
if he passes if he passes 12, then is he going to fall outside of 32?
But it was cool because I was like, well, this is great.
Yeah.
Like I kind of win either way. Like that was another way. I was like,
This
well,
is
I love him.
8th
so
overall is fantastic.
8
draft
overall
capital.
is perfect. For
Oh.
him to go to the Panthers is perfect. He's going to be the clear number one. This is what Bryce Young has needed. An
Yes.
outside separator. He hasn't had that yet. It's really been limiting for him. So this is great for Bryce Young. I think he's a buy in all formats. Tet's a buy. He's going to be a total monster. He's going to outproduce Hunter this year for sure, because Hunter has to share the field with Brian Thomas, and McMillan doesn't have to share the field with anything close to Brian Thomas. McMillan does have to share a field with Jalen Coker. And so I think the biggest loser of the draft was Xavier Liggett. Xavier Liggett is dead. Xavier Liggett is a far inferior version of Tet McMillan. That's what he is. They play the same position. He theoretically has the type of sort of X versatility, the versatile X, or sort of like a hybrid X squared, whatever you want to call it. Call it an X squared position. In theory, Liggett could do that, but that's not who he is. We found out that's not who he is. Coker, though. Coker is a great compliment to Tet.
Yeah.
Coker is a great Z, and I think and then you'll have Thielen in the slot, and I think in the long run, I think we're going to see McMillan and Coker. I think Coker is still a buy. Coker's been on my buy list all off season. This doesn't change that a bit. And I'm also very glad my sort of final takeaway before we wrap this up is that the film guys lost.
Yes.
The film guys with the arbitrary effort level judgments, punishing players, moving them outside their top 50 based on effort level. And then that guy goes top 10 and just embarrasses them. That made me happy to see that. I was very happy to see the good guys won, the film guys lost. It was great. It was a great first day.
Return of the analytics.
That's right.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.